Good morning, everyone. Still experiencing the whole retrograde thing with electronic equipment, so I'm going to do this on my phone. So if you're wondering where I'm sitting today, I'm actually sitting at the table I started my readings off on. So I'm going to call these little talks kitchen table talks in recognition of where I started. So when I was doing the coaching channel, I thought it was really important that I'd sort of get in and sort of talk about some of the things we do in coaching, because I think it's very important to be able to share them with you all. Most people who have coaching with me have got, issues of their own that they're trying to work through in regards to where they want to go in life, past relationships, past energies, and what they want to achieve now moving forward. So we very much work with everybody individually. But there are some things that come up for everybody, no matter who you are. There are things that we all do that we need to get better at. So I thought when I decided to do the kitchen table talks, that I would take some of those things and just sort of share with you some hints and tips and things that you can do yourself to help you along the way. So with most of us, many of us, I'd say it is probably most of us, but I won't go there. We have always this energy of getting into our heads. It's something to do with the way we're raised. It's our need for control. So whenever I speak to people, I always say to them, do you find you get stuck in your head a lot? And the answer is pretty always yes, I do. I often get stuck in my head thinking about things. Now, I have learned over the last several years how important it is for us to give up control in our day-to-day lives. And people say to me, how do you do that? Well, the things you can control, are your day-to-day experiences. Brushing your teeth in the morning, eating food, going off to work, driving your car. Those are the things you can control. Most other things are out of your control. You have no idea whether driving to work, whether you're going to be stopped because there's roadworks. You may go to brush your teeth and find you've run out of toothpaste. There can be a myriad of other things that sort of stop you achieving what you might have set out to do. And some days we have lots of those little hiccups, and they sort of remind us, I think, to slow down. So what can you control? Well, you can control how you react to things. You can control, how you deal with emotions. You can control how you deal with situations, if that means you've got to talk about something, express yourself, or assert yourself. But most of the world sort of will carry on without us, whether we're here or not. That's the way it is. So what happens is when we start, or we're upset, or we're disappointed, because we are raised to be somewhat logical minded, and we're taught somewhere at the beginning that we don't sit in that spiritual mindset where we allow the universe to lead us along. So we tend to sort of have this fear of control, not being able to control things. Now, for many of you, if you've had difficult childhoods or emotional upbringings, that becomes something that you can control. It's a bit like eating and not eating. It becomes very much an instrument of control. And the one thing we really like to do is we like to control our thoughts. And you can't. I'm here to tell you cannot control your thoughts. You can if you want to sit on something and fantasize about it, but for the most part, your thoughts are going to come and go as they please. So sometimes we'll be sitting there and we'll be, very quietly reading a book, and we'll think about something, and we might not want to think about it. What happens if it's something negative or something, you don't want to think about? What happens if I don't want to think about this? What do? I chase it. I chase it down. I try to look at it from all angles, and I try to control it. And I always say when I'm talking to people about this, if I say to you, don't imagine a purple unicorn, what do? You imagine a purple unicorn. So if you're sitting there and a thought comes to mind and you don't want to think about it, you try to push it away. You try to make sure it doesn't come into your thoughts again, and you push and you shove and you threaten it and you try everything, but that thought still keeps coming at you because you're trying to control it. So the most important thing to do when you're experiencing that energy of overthinking is to ask yourself first, what was the thought I had? What is this thought? And to clearly have a look at it. Don't try to push it away. I want you to look at it and I want you to experience it. So say, for example, something's happened at work and you've heard someone talking about their downsizing at work, and you go home and you think, well, it's going to be me. I may not have been doing my job well. I may not have the greatest confidence in my work. I was the last person put on. And those thoughts start to go through your head about how someone's going to put you off, sack you. Whether there's truth in it or not, we will run off with that thought and we will control it. So I want you to stop for a moment and I want you to think, what was the initial thought that came into my head? What is the issue here? And the issue might be, well, a fear of losing my job. Perhaps that's the most ultimate thing here. So I want you to then go into the energy of what does that fear look like for you. And at the end of the day, you can imagine the worst possible scenario, if you like. But you're looking at, what is that to me? What does it mean to me? Where is it coming from? And feel it out. How does it make me feel? How does that fear make me feel? How scared would I be? What does that mean for me? Where does it think? Where do I go from here if this is the problem or the question, or the irrational fear, or even the catastrophic way of thinking about it? Go through all of those things, and when you're done, let it go. Just let it go, because it was only a thought. It's not real. So you experience the emotion, go through how it makes you feel. Make sure you ask every possible question you can, but don't try to push it away. Now, if you're experiencing a breakdown in a relationship and you're finding it so difficult because that person consumes every waking moment, they get in every little crevice, everything you think about, doesn't matter what you think about. If you're going through that grieving or that separation anxiety, that sadness, you'll do the same thing. You'll try not to think about them. You keep trying to push it away because you're trying to control it. It doesn't feel good. So when you're doing that, allow the thought in. Look at it every possible angle. Like I said, you can catastrophically look at it. You can look at it in a good way. You can see whatever outcomes you want to envision. None of them are going to happen because really and truly we don't have control of what's going to happen in the long run. And once you've looked at it from every possible angle, make sure you experience the feeling that it brings with you. Ask what is the possible outcome for you here. Is it because you're scared of losing someone? Are you scared of being by yourself? Do you fear that you won't be loved again? Whatever it is for you, feel the feelings. And once you've thought it through and you've felt the feelings, you can say thank you to yourself for showing you that and just allow it to disappear. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to cling on to it. Just feel it out. Think of all the scenarios you want to put in front of it and then just allow it to go. Now, at first, this might be a little difficult, okay, because it's something you've not been told before. It's something that you've not worked with before. So it may be a little uncomfortable to start with because you're confronting something. But remember, you can't control your thoughts. They're going to come whether you like it or not. And if you don't allow them during the day, they will come to you at night time and they will come in your dreams. So what you're being asked to do here is to make sure you look at it in every way possible. And when it comes in, don't be scared of it. Don't be frightened of the thought. Don't try to push it away. And people will say that to us. Oh, haven't you talked about this enough? Haven't you thought about this enough? Well, probably not if you're still talking about it, and probably not if you're still thinking about it. And some of us will hold those thoughts and energies to ourselves, and we won't share them with other people. We just try to battle it through. And once you get to that point where you understand that it's just a thought and I can let it go, the first time it might keep coming back. So just keep doing the same thing over and over, but allow it to happen. Don't try to control it. And just let it go. And soon, what will start to happen is you'll find you'll have bigger and bigger gaps between those thoughts. And you've got to be really dedicated to doing this. It's no good saying to me, well, I tried it, it didn't work. It's not going to work the first time. Anything you do to change the way you do something takes time. I think that they say with something like hypnotherapy or meditation, it takes 21 days straight to change your thinking, to change or allow things to be different, to make changes. 21 days, 3 weeks. So you may do this several times a day. You might do it 50 times a day, and it might be a little difficult to start with, but don't push it away. Don't try to control it, because that's what we do. We try to control the thought. Just allow it to be. Now, if you've done meditation, if you're a person who already meditates, which I find a lot of people have already done, what we talk about in meditation is, you're quietening your mind. Some people say to me, I can't meditate, my mind's too busy. Well, so are all of our minds. Don't be misled to think that when you meditate, your mind's going to go completely quiet, because you cannot control your thoughts. But you do get better at it. So not controlling, better at letting them go. So when you meditate, what I always say you're looking for is the space between your thoughts. Those are the peaceful moments. So if you start to think about something in meditation, you say, that's a thought, thank you, and you just allow it to pass. And that is what you do when you're awake. So a lot of people are used to doing it within meditations, but are not used to trying it in their day-to-day life. This is why meditation is such an incredibly good practice, because it allows us to give space between our thoughts, and that's what brings us peace. So when you first start, it may not be very long. That space may be quite short. It may be brief, but it will start to get longer. And then after a while, you think, wow, I've only had a few thoughts at this time. And then before long, it's like your mind is not thinking anything other than, what am I going to have for breakfast? Which makes me feel like I'm a little hungry and ready for breakfast. I promised myself I'd have a cooked breakfast this morning, so I got up with good preparation. And I think that what we do is, when we get used to the idea that our mind is sort of separate, it's separate from us in some way, shape or form, because we don't choose what we want to think. And sometimes the thoughts that come in aren't the most comfortable thoughts. We tend to be people who think catastrophically. We do think sometimes the worst of things. Some of us just naturally drawn to pulling in something that perhaps isn't the best way of thinking. But the moment you start to fight that, the moment you start to claw it and push it back, it just becomes bigger than Ben-Hur, and it will come at you 10 times harder. But if you choose to just let it go, and you choose to just imagine that it's just a thought, and how can I look at that thought in every way? I mean, turn it upside down, look at it sideways, make it different colors, whatever you need to do, but look at it in every way, shape or form. Flood yourself, drown yourself with that thought, and then just say, that's it. I've looked at everything I need to. I can let it go now. And I can guarantee you, if you're doing that, every time you have a thought, you will get less and less thoughts coming through that you don't need to control anymore. Why would your mind send them to you? You're not controlling them. And it will make such a huge difference in your life, because the space between your thoughts will gradually get bigger and bigger. And you will understand that you don't have the control, but you do have the control about how you respond to them. I'll leave you with that. Thanks for joining me.